All right.
Remind me what time of year it was that we're slotting this into.
Oh, this will be August, early to mid-August of 2024.
Okay.
Wait, what? Oh, because you're putting it into the... Okay,
yeah.
You're putting it earlier in the... Hey, Becca, here's an idea for you moving forward. When you're using the random number generator, what if you just exclude the dates that you've already... Like, it's one thing if the show goes back ahead of time, but, like, why are you doing it to yourself for things that don't... Like, you could easily been like, don't do anything before 4000 BC. Like...
I could do that, but, you know, I don't want the podcast to disrupt the integrity of
the random number generator.
Well, it impacts time, like when you are the act of like viewing it is impacting it in
it's like
in
the
relativity.
Heisenberg uncertainty.
I understand that when it's like
Yeah.
when the show actually sets something in that time period, but I don't understand how that's true when you're making up a number and randomly assigning it to that time period. Like I get like it doesn't it's not like it impacts like you're just saying there's no number for this, so I'm just gonna stick it in somewhere.
Because the randomness is where we find truth. We find truth in the randomness.
It can still be random from the current time that you're at on the story forward.
No,
I just feel like that would be dishonest.
Yeah. I'm totally aligned on that. It's untrue.
It's just dishonest. Look, it's not my show, it's not my horses.
But Becca's not making it up. She's letting the numbers decide. And the numbers decide. But like
you said it after this.
No, because then that's Becca deciding. That's Becca putting her thumb on the scale.
So let me ask you this with this. I'm curious. I don't know how it works as far as like podcast apps go. Like if someone just listened to the one we just recorded, will this one drop the next week, or will it not? Will it just like be slipped in, unless they go back in their app to find it? Will they ever hear this episode?
They will hear the episode. Basically, what I'm going to do is I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it as like that week's episode, whatever it is. It's going to be a couple weeks down the road though, because I want to wait until the season is done before I change the edit up. But I'm basically going to leave it in the place where we recorded it for like a week or 2 or 3. And then I'm going to move it back into the place where it's going to be. So it's like your podcast app will still mark it as like not having been played or whatever, but the hoops I have to jump through for this podcast, for this random number generator. God damn it, Riley. Maybe you're right. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
You've already put us through hell of Tales of the TARDIS. I feel like deciding that, like, having back-to-back Tales of the TARDIS and the fucking Zoom meetings over and over again, those are okay. But this is too much. We can't go back. That's just unfair. No, you've put me through hell, and so you will be in hell with me.
Okay, yeah. But, you know, if you two want to, I was trying to give you something to make it easier for you moving forward. But
this is not a show about doing the easy thing.
That's a fair point.
What part of this seems like Becca wants to do what's easy?
Yeah, that's fair. I think I've just never wrapped my head around the random. I mean, can all this be included in the podcast?
Absolutely.
Like, what else are we going to talk about?
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
I just want to say that. By the way, yeah, okay, cool. Because we got 5 minutes of content out of this so far, so I feel like that's good.
Yeah, that's pretty good for not having actually done the intro to the podcast yet, and also not.
Well, you can always.
And also having 7 seconds to talk about. All right. Should we start this in earnest? Are you ready with the thing, Mandy?
Yes.
Ernest goes to space and time.
Welcome to Stitches in Time, the podcast discussing Doctor Who the way it was meant to be watched, in chronological order, one clip at a time, starting at the Big Bang and ending with the heat death of the universe. I'm Becca, the Matrix Archivist, and I spent the last 13 years of my life meticulously editing the entire televised Doctor Who universe into chronological order.
And I'm Mandy, and I'm definitely loving this August 2024 warm day. I love being 31 years old and having not been 32 yet. I'm looking forward to my birthday in a month.
Yeah.
And things are looking great. We're still in Brat summer, and things are looking awesome.
Yeah. Life is really good. Everything's fine. There are no problems in the world. It's going well, and also joining us is a very special guest who. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this yet, being as it's August of 2024.
And it hasn't been written yet. Yeah.
It hasn't been written yet.
It's not even official yet. I haven't even known I get to do it yet. I'm still in the pitch phase.
That's amazing. The Riley Silverman, writer of... Riley, I have this idea that I think you would be great for writing. What if... Okay.
Don't you dare take my thing from me, even in fiction. No, I will say, at this point in August 2024, I am in the gap between when I've already worked the pitch out with Peter Angelides at Big Finish, and when I'm waiting to hear back from if it got approved by both Big Finish and the BBC. So,
oh, cool.
Actually, this is actually fun. It was interesting the way that it worked out, because... a thing that I don't think would ever happen with an American company for a writing pitch is that the like long and short. I'm sorry if I'm taking time away from the valuable seconds of episode that we have to talk about, but basically, at this point in time, so last year at Galley, 2024 Galley, I was introduced to Peter in the bar by our friend Paul Cornell. I was shit-faced drunk, and I was introduced to him. And then following up after that, I pitched the idea to him, and then I didn't hear from him for a while, and I just assumed they rejected my pitch and never told me. That's what I thought happened. And then I get an email from him randomly in July from a different email address that is him saying, hey, I think a lot of my emails are bouncing off of Gmail accounts and you never got these emails, but are you still interested in this? And if so, here's some... And below it, he had sent me like a month earlier a bunch of notes on my pitch and like things that I needed to adjust and stuff like that to move forward with it.
Wow.
And I had never responded because I hadn't gotten the email. And it turned out, I think a few other writers had the same thing happen to them, which is probably why he followed up. Yeah. But basically then I had like 4 days to completely rewrite my pitch, like to factor in all of his notes and stuff like that. Like I didn't change the bones of it, but I added a lot of details into it. And like I like the next day I spent like a few hours working on the pitch again. I sent it back to him. And then he was like, okay, here's some thoughts I still have on it. Can you maybe adjust these things? And I was like, yeah, that's great. And so I did that. And so within 4 days, I had to I revised the pitch and send it off. So at this point in time, if people are listening to it in this order and it's August of 2024, I am actively still checking my email every day to see if this pitch comes in or not. I don't find out that I get to write the thing in earnest until October. So I have 2 more months of like I've sent this thing off. What's going to happen with it? And I'm not able to tell any of my friends about it or anything. And it's like such a wild thing going on. I think the only person at this point in time who knows that I'm doing this is Ben, and that's only because they helped me by giving me. They had a couple of old Big Finish like short trip scripts that like they had like archives of, and so I was able to like look at those to kind of get an idea of the format and stuff like that. So because I had to ask them for that stuff, they knew that I was submitting this thing.
Cool, that's amazing.
That doesn't exist yet and won't exist for another 6 months.
I know, it's crazy. And of course, today we're talking about the Robot Revolution, the 15th Doctor and Belinda Chandra story.
Specifically the portion that is not May 24th, 2025.
Yeah.
It's a different day.
Specifically, yes, this is, of course... 190 million BC. This is one of the many bits at the end of the episode where the Doctor's trying to get her home and he just keeps bouncing off of present day. You know, and the random number generator gave us gave us this
Counts into
spot.
190 million BC.
Yeah, which is great because this goes right between the Dragonfly clip from Hyde and the Space Babies clip where Ruby Sunday gets turned into a lizard. But it also, the way that this edit worked out, it looks like Shooty just pulls a lever and it turns Belinda into Ruby Sunday.
Yeah. Time travel was messed up.
Just problematic whitewashing.
I will say, when I watched the clip that you sent me that had the previous the Hyde clip and then the Ruby thing, I fall firmly on Team Big Bug. I think that watching that clip again, especially, I'm on Team Big Bug, Becca. So I have your back.
Thank
on
you.
that. I have your Big Bug back.
A Big Bug back.
Boom.
Big Bug back. We're not talking about turn left for a while, Riley. I don't know what you're doing.
We're not body shaming bugs who like to eat lots of tasty things on TikTok. I have a question. Is this the first appearance of Belinda Chandra in this order?
It is.
Stitches in Time order.
It is. And I believe it's the first appearance of the 15th Doctor.
Because it comes before
previously
Ruby.
It was
right.
the moment after this. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So big deal. Big deal.
Big deal.
Yeah, and I'm sure when we record the next week's episode to talk about that moment, we'll definitely say that it's his second time in the Stitches in Time. We won't mention that it's his first time,
right?
And
of
use
course,
that as an opportunity to talk about Shooty, because we've already done it. We'll be doing it today for the first time.
Yeah.
Now, watch there be another episode with Belinda that requires the random number generator that puts Belinda also earlier than this, and it just becomes like a constant loop of like, this is the first time we've had this person. You're like, somebody can pick it up. It's like, no, you talked about it in September 2023. Like, when you weren't even doing the show yet.
What's going to actually be a problem is the day that Matt Smith is no longer the first Doctor, and we have to reorder, because this doesn't reorder the Doctors in any way. The Doctors are
Correct.
Still in their proper order.
Yeah. If we get something that knocks Matt Smith out of first Doctor status, then we have to renumber everything, and it's gonna be chaos.
Wait, but that would never happen, because we're doing everything in order, and we've got all this stuff, and it was so nice of Russell T Davies to send us the things that he will be making.
Yeah.
Oh, so the Castrovalva clip that's the Big Bang does not have Peter Davison in it.
No.
Okay, sorry. That's why.
That's just a shot of the TARDIS. Actually, yeah, Matt Smith doesn't. Oh, I think that is the second clip. Yeah, and then David Tennant, who's the second Doctor, of course, doesn't show up until like the fifth clip of the thing. So this is wild. And here's the thing, is that when Russell T Davies gave us all of his, sent us all of the scripts for season 2, it's great. I've only read up until the end of the Interstellar Song Contest. But so I haven't read the series finale yet, but
which there's 2 episodes coming up, Wish World and the Reality War.
Yeah, exactly. So and maybe it would have been prudent to read those scripts before recording this, but
I mean, you really should have. I had a lot of things that I wanted to say about the threesome, and just kind of like just a lot of feelings about kind of the optics of what was going on there, but I won't. I don't need to spoil that.
Sure, that's fair. Yes.
I didn't know that Mrs. Flood was that flexible.
I mean, her name is Mrs. Flood. What did you expect? She's liquid.
She's getting me wet. That's right. Okay.
Mrs. Flood my basement, if you know what I'm talking about. Heck yeah.
Oh my god.
Shooty bringing back those sex education chops.
Look, if you got them, use them. That's all we gotta say. But yeah, the Robot Revolution. First of all, I gotta say, in general, I think this season is pretty fucking killer. I think they've outdone themselves, and for the most part, I think every episode's been a banger.
Mm-hmm.
I like the season overall. I think that my thing with this season is like Doctor Who sometimes has like peaks, valleys, and like middle line episodes, and like that are like ostensibly good, but overall kind of forgettable. And I feel like this season, I think I've had more that I've felt like very middle to me, and not as many that like peaks and valleys. Whereas like last season, I felt like we had some really big peaks and some really low valleys. I wanted to like Lucky Day more than I did. Lucky Day, I think I loved the first half of it. I was like, oh, what a really interesting concept to do an episode focused entirely on like the weird PTSD that a recent companion would have leaving the Doctor, and how that would go. And then when like shifted, even when he's like, oh, I want to be brave like a Doctor, and he's turning into a bit of a fuckboy. It's like, oh, I like that. Like, oh, she was putting trust in this guy, and now he's kind of unreliable, and that's the whole thing. And then when it changes into this weird thing about like misinformation and like it, like that kind of thing, but their target is like a paramilitary organization that is operating a little bit too freely, and it really threw me off, and I was so bummed. I was like, the first half of this was one of the most interesting things Doctor Who's ever done, and then they're like, it's too interesting for us. Let's just turn it back into a weird. So I wanted to like that more, but overall, I am enjoying the season. Like I do think that I think it's overall a more solid season than the previous season, but I think season 1 had a lot of like really big swings that I thought they hit really well. Like I think that that run of season 1 between Boom through Rogue, I think are some of Doctor Who at its best. Like I think that 73 Yards is such an interesting, weird episode, and I think that Boom is it was good to see Moffat come back and be the most Moffat-y he could be for an episode, and then peace out again for a little bit. And then Rogue is amazing. So yeah, and Dot and Bubble, so
I think 73 Yards is my favorite of last season, and I honestly think maybe Robot Revolution is still my favorite of season 2 so far.
Oh, interesting. I think The Well might be mine.
The Well, I think, is a close second, but
yeah,
I just really like I think the idea of like the star certificate thing is so funny.
I think those things in real life are so silly to me that like making it like the cornerstone of an actual sci-fi plot is such a genius move. I do like that quite a bit. I think this season is doing a much better job of making its arc play in and work well. Like I think that like season 1, I mean, I have no idea how it's going to happen next week, and we'll see how it actually like they stick the landing with it. But last year it felt like the Sutekh thing came out of nowhere and didn't feel built up for me at all. Whereas this one, I feel like the Mrs. Flood Ronnie stuff really feels supported and interesting. And I like the Ronnie, and it's one of those things where it's like you've heard. I was joking about it, I think off mic, about how like every time there's a mysterious woman on this show, including Missy, including Clara, and things like that, are like, it's the Ronnie. It must be the Ronnie. That must be the Ronnie. Oh, that old lady in the chocolate factory in the pouch. She must be the Ronnie. Oh, this is the Ronnie. So like for it to finally be the Ronnie and have Susan in the same episode is like the funniest thing in the world to me, and I love it.
It's very good.
Becca, have we talked about the dimensions in time yet?
We have not.
Okay, so when we will see old Tom Baker, and then he will have been talking about the horrible woman, and I presume that he is talking shit about me, as I like to talk shit about him. I guess that was about the Ronnie, and the only thing that I know about the Ronnie, or will know about the Ronnie, I know at this point I know nothing about the Ronnie, but I will know that Tom Baker does not like her and thinks that she is a gross, mean, horrible woman, and that makes me like her.
That's fair. I like this season. I feel like Sutekh felt like if you didn't know about Pyramids of Mars, you're lost about what Sutekh is and why he's there.
I disagree, because I didn't know shit about Pyramids of Mars. Like, it's one of those, I think that if you do know, then it is almost a detriment, because you are you are presuming that it doesn't make any sense unless you have that context.
Oh, fair.
But you actually don't need context of like big scary dog, and that's all I kind of needed. Just like oh, he's a bad guy. I usually don't need things other than like he's bad. We don't like him.
Bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. For me, it felt like the whole thing was building up to it, and then it was just like what's the mystery? What's happening here? Oh, it's a bad guy. Like, well, we could have known it was a bad guy the whole time, but like,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think the Ronnie does exactly that. The Ronnie, like, you don't need to know who she is. You just know she's a Time Lord, and she seems like she sucks. Like that's like what that clip shows you, and yeah.
Yeah.
And I love already the energy between Archie Punjabi and Anita Dobson, where Anita Dobson suddenly goes from being this scheming Mrs. Flood to now she's her subordinate, and like the way she like stands behind her, and like the way she's like apologizing for everything, and like she's sorry that she's still there. Like, oh, I'm so sorry we generated. I know you wanted to have the floor for yourself. I'm sorry that I'm still here. It's like so funny to me, and I really hope we get more of that in the next 2 weeks because I love it so much.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
Now I gotta find
Looking
somebody
forward-
for Gally.
I'm looking forward to the new web series that is just Anita Dobson and David Tennant slap fighting a lot.
Do you feel like that moment of the Archie Ronnie saying, "I'm the Ronnie, she's a Ronnie"? Do you think that was intentionally a way of like reminding fans like David Tennant's Doctor, like Shudi's Doctor is the definitive Doctor, and like because there was like when they first generated there was like a thing of like oh he's the spare, like, but yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I like that a lot. But
I think
in
that's
this
a good
clip,
read of that.
we know that something is happening and they can't get to it.
something is going on.
I like that this clip doesn't make us hear any dialogue and we can just appreciate how attractive Varada Sethu is. I think I'm saying it right. I always think I'm saying her name wrong, and I did like find a thing. It's one of those things where I have heard it pronounced properly now, but now I'm always like, wait, is that how it was? I think it's Varada. I think
she says Varada. I think
Varada,
I've heard her say Varada.
Varada. Thank you. Yes, that's it. Yeah, I think I used to put the emphasis on the second syllable, and that's incorrect. So
same, and
Varada.
then I think I heard an interview with her, and I was like, oh shit, all right.
Yeah, when she first after this episode aired, after Robot Revolution aired, somebody linked to a clip that gave it to me, so I was like, okay, cool, now I have this. Like, she also recently appeared again in season 2 of Andor, which is fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was in the first season. Because when she was cast on Doctor Who, it was Andor's Varada Sethu is going to be on Doctor Who.
Oh,
and then she ended up being the new companion, and then, yeah. But
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, she plays
I'm
part
so
of
behind on all my Star Wars shows.
She plays part of a sapphic couple on Andor, which is great. And actually with another former Doctor Who cast member, because the actress whose name escapes me off the top of my head, but she played the waif on Game of Thrones, and she played Shona on Doctor Who in Last Christmas. And
oh my gosh.
She plays Vel.
Oh, that's awesome.
Andor.
Mm.
I quite like her a bit, and I'm really hoping that she has a Karen Gillan style blow up after Doctor Who is over, because I think she's amazing, and I would love to see more of her. And she's just absolutely gorgeous. So
yeah, she's incredible. Also, I really like, especially what the Robot Revolution, what this episode, like the way that it introduced her as like, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, or sorry, I will talk about this on the podcast again in the future
when that episode airs. Yeah, right now it hasn't aired yet.
But just like the whole idea of her just being like, you don't get to decide that I'm your like puzzle to solve and all this stuff is like,
yeah,
I like having a companion in her 30s who doesn't give a shit. Yeah,
and also just kind of calling out that was like, oh, I'm a person. I'm not like a little fancy plot point. I'm a human being, and I would like to go home, please.
Yeah. Also, maybe the first time in Doctor Who's entire history where they've brought up what the companion does for a living and then actually lets her do that in an episode of Doctor Who. Like, it's like, oh yeah, she's a nurse. She actually uses her nurse powers regularly on this show.
Yeah, and it's in a way that kind of sets up because you have kind of like an innate, a doctor and a nurse. That's like a perfect little pairing. And everything is kind of set up to kind of introduce that like this is like a perfect little duo of two people together. And then her at the end being like, no, I didn't actually decide this in any way. You decided this for me and have done a lot of shit that I did not consent to.
Yes.
Maybe
calling her
don't
out.
do that.
Yeah, it's so good. I'm still wondering if we're gonna find a letter, like, if because we did in the script for the Interstellar Song Contest, we obviously know that Susan returns, and I still am wondering if we're gonna find out that like somehow. I've seen some speculation from people reading the scripts that Belinda's going to end up being a version of Susan somehow, and I kind of hope that's not the case. But there's implications that she might have some sort of Gallifreyan tie, but I don't know how true that is, or if people reading too much into lines of dialogue from episodes that haven't aired yet. Like, because in Robot Revolution, she knows what a TARDIS is before anyone says the name of it to her. But that also might just be like a remnant of editing. That's what's like, it's hard to know if like maybe that was something, maybe it was explained to her in an edit, or like you're supposed to assume that she heard him say it off camera at some point. And then there's also a line in the next episode in Lux, I think it is, where she says something about like let's go home, meaning Gallifrey, and it's like a weird confusion. So
Oh yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope she I hope it's the meddling monk regenerates into Belinda Chandra.
Well, the meddling monk hasn't appeared on this show yet, so no one knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You
Sorry,
don't talk about that
right.
until next year on your anniversary show.
Yeah. Okay.
I had the scripts for your anniversary show from next year.
Okay,
so
great.
I know what we talk about.
Perfect.
On that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I
I
probably
have to really rehearse what I have to say there.
Yeah, I should stop. Like, that's taking up so much of my time just writing up these scripts for these podcast episodes. It's just like, okay, now
Hey, Mandy, from the past, let me tell you, don't read any Egyptology books, but do read a mermaid book before we record that episode. That'll come in a lot of handy, I think, for you.
Well, I've put in, I'm on like the hold list, but they gotta get it from the other library. But they're supposed to get it in time on the library, and then I can get the Egyptology book.
Oh, that should work out great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you're giving them several months notice. I feel like it's fine.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I'm like 487th on the wait list, but we got time.
Yeah. And like worst case scenario, you can always order it from Amazon. It's not like we're gonna have reasons not to want to shop at Amazon in the next like 6 months. So yeah, I think
Right.
we're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no reason right now in
No,
August
not at all.
2024 that you wouldn't want to shop at Amazon.
Yeah, it's
course
not going to
not.
get even worse than that over like, I don't know, the next month or so, and then further on from that. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's it's all fine.
Yeah.
It's all fine.
maybe they have a good Egyptology book at Target. You can always go to Target, you know, that's a good alternative to Amazon. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just great time.
I think last time I was on the show was right before the election, and I think we were like talking about it in terms of like what our thoughts were about it,
God.
and how
Yeah.
or should I say next time I'm on the show is right before the election. And
Yeah.
Oh, God.
this feels like unintentionally the time when Michael was trying to imply that he had recorded his last episode before his first episode, and we kept trying to talk about
Yeah. Well, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think my favorite episode of the season actually might be Story and Engine. I think that was just such an interesting way of like telling.
Yeah.
It's not like the best. I think it's like it has some flaws as far as like editing and stuff concerned, but I think I just thought that was such an interesting big swing. I'm always a fan of a big swing.
I think my only problem with it is just like I felt like it was very dense, and I felt like it was like trying to introduce like, hey, we've got these like ancillary characters, and we've got like, it was trying to introduce a lot, and I'm like, maybe this should have been a 2-parter or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it probably would have lagged as a 2-parter. I would prefer something that has like too much rather than like they're trying to stretch it out.
Yeah. I think probably the thing I would have preferred would have been like, I don't now I'm like, well, I can write Doctor Who better than somebody who writes Doctor Who for a living, but like
I mean, to be fair, it wasn't written by someone who writes Doctor Who for a living. It was written by somebody who had never written Doctor Who before, but
true.
But did a good job on that.
Yeah. No, I'm
sure Russell did a pass, but yeah.
Sure, yeah. No, I think it was like, it was establishing a lot of characters and a lot of plot elements kind of all at the same time, and that's kind of like I think what was the problem with a lot of like the Chris Chibnall like era stuff, where he was just like, all right, we've got 3 companions in the TARDIS, we're gonna give them all a backstory, let's go. And
Yeah.
I was just like, no, I wanted a little more something. I don't know.
Yeah, I did feel like it's like Story Engine is so based on like storytelling and
Right.
like the idea of like telling stories to each other, which is like a very cultural thing, especially with amongst like the like African nation where it's set and stuff like that, and Lagos. But I think that like there is a part in the middle where it moves over the line of storytelling into exposition info dumps. And the problem is you get like 3 in a row, because you get the Barber's storyline, backstory, and then you get a little bit of Doctor stuff, and then you get a little bit of Abby stuff, like back to back to back. And it's like, guys, I'm really having a hard time following all this lore. What's happening here?
Yeah.
But then Joe Martin shows up, and I don't give a shit anymore. Now I'm like, Joe Martin's here, and then it's like fine from then on again. But there was definitely a point, especially having watched it after midnight and being in the middle of this midnight thing, being like, oh gosh, this is getting kind of laborious right now. But I will.
Fair.
I will always appreciate when a Doctor Who episode takes a really big swing and maybe doesn't like hit a home run, but like still hits a double with it.
Oh, for
over
sure.
Ones where like I feel like it just follows a formulaic thing and like does good with it.
Yeah.
Like so
honestly, those are usually my favorite episodes of Doctor Who, and where I'm like, I know like people had problems with Space Babies. I loved Space Babies just because of that. Like, yeah, they really went for it, and it's like I'm not saying it was like the best episode, but like I feel like it shouldn't have really worked as well as it ended up working. You know what I mean?
Like my thing about Space Babies is that for me, Doctor Who has to remind you that it's stupid sometimes. And it has to remind you that it's stupid. Or remind you with Space Babies that like, oh, it's like it is telling a fundamentally stupid story. It is doing it in a very enjoyable way. Like I enjoyed watching that episode, but it's a very silly episode. But the reason why Doctor Who has to do that is like my favorite of this season has like not in terms of like the story itself, but in the story that like, oh, only Doctor Who could tell Lux in the way that he did it, of like that
Right.
is such a complex story that you are telling that you kind of have to do a little bit in a stupid way. It would not work in a show that was serious. You could not do it in something that is like very everyone is doing everything very seriously and very kind of focused and adult. It needs to be the sort of show that does Space Babies, that can do that sort of fourth wall break and kind of like really spend time like with animation and with the way that like editing works in a way that like the way that like film and TV is put together and so many just like fourth wall stuff. Like you kind of need a show that does Space Babies to be able to do to do an episode like Lux.
Yeah.
I think that might be why I'm so frustrated with last night's episode, which was for the listener. I'm sorry, next May's episode that airs on May 6th, the Interstellar Song Contest, because I feel like I'm not a giant Eurovision nerd. Like I have a lot of issues with Eurovision as like an org and what they've done in the last couple of years, especially. But like I also am an ABBA fan, and I like really dumb, stupid music things sometimes. And I feel like Eurovision is already this wildly over the top and campy and kind of stupid, crazy thing. And I feel like if you're going to go, hey, we're going to take this thing and put it in space and make it sci-fi, like you can't make it then feel more muted and restrained than the actual thing that you're doing a reference to. And that's what I felt like. I'm like, I want the Doctor Who that does weird third act breaking stuff in Lux and does Space Babies and things like that to be the Doctor Who that I see. And I want the Doctor Who with Fish in the Sky in the Christmas Carol to be what's happening in the intergalactic song contest episode. And I felt like what we ended up getting was just like, hey, this lady has some spots and singing a song. Hey, in the background, while other stuff is happening, we'll see footage of Muppets. And then like at the end, we'll have this very cool, I'm nothing against the very cool emotional like moment at the end with the song, but it's like, give me stupid Doctor Who for the first half of this episode to make it make sense why you're setting an episode in an intergalactic song contest. Because right now it feels like it might as well just be like any concert you can go to, or any, like, you can't make an episode of TV in 2025 that feels less weird than the opera on board the ship in Fifth Element, which came out like 2.5 decades ago. Like, give me at least that level of something.
Right.
It seems like they leaned hard on the main thing that is dumb, which enemy of the show, Ben Paddon, had to provide the context of the guy that they have in the cryogenic freeze is the actual guy who does that. And I think as an American who does not have that context of, I am used to seeing that it's like not as inherently silly as it should be, is if I presume you are somebody who is watching the UK broadcast of Eurovision and then see some, like, it seems like they leaned hard and that's where the silliness will be. And I wonder how much of that is like a cost measure thing of like, it maybe seems like you did not have the budget to be doing like the big extravagant,
it's 100%
like
that, yes.
Yeah. And so you're just have like, we'll put some spots on somebody and have you stand in front of a green screen and sing.
Yeah. It reminds me of aforementioned enemy of the show, Ben Paddon's a show that they and I both quite enjoy, Sliders, which is Sliders would frequently go to other Earths and be like, oh, this Earth is being controlled by this deep totalitarian thing, but we only have the budget for a basement. So every single world we go to, we're going to meet the rebels in a basement. But they did an episode of that show where there's a character on that show who is a jazz singer, and they go to a world where he's Rembrandt the Crying Man Brown, and they go to a world where the Crying Man was an Elvis-level celebrity figure who was thought to have died. And so when the Rembrandt from the Sliders crew shows up, people are like, oh my god, it's Rembrandt, and he's back from the dead. We're going to have this huge major concert to celebrate his return from the dead. And then the concert is like the backstage at what's ostensibly like a black box theater. Like, it might as well have us been like backstage at like the Lyric Hyperion before we did Gender Euphoria Cabaret at the level like it's just a small black room with a curtain and that's it. And like they don't show any audience. It's like it looks like it's like it might be like they shot this at, I don't know, like El Cid or like the what's the theater where they do Gentlemen's Club sometimes. It doesn't matter anyway. But like it just
Typewriter? Is that what?
The other one, the one Elysium or
the Elysian,
Elysian Theater. Thank you. It feels like that. It feels like the backstage of like whatever cheap theater the production of Sliders could afford, and that's what they show, and it's such a funny disconnect. Or it's like in the movie version of Red, White, and Royal Blue, where they clearly didn't have the budget to actually have a massive crowd of British citizens showing up at the palace to cheer them on. So they just like, you see like a badly CGI'd like silhouette of a crowd at the window, and then they go to the like balcony and they open the balcony and then it cuts away because they can't actually show the crowd that's supposed to be supporting them, like that kind of thing. And this definitely felt like, oh, we had this really cool idea for a crazy song contest, but we couldn't afford it, and we didn't think we should pivot when that became the clear thing that was happening.
I do appreciate with them that I was like, oh, we need to have like a big emotional, this big emotional song that has to be like beautifully performed, that it turns the audience around, and it has to be an important song. The lyrics have to be about like this devastation, all of these crimes, and we also have to get that approved by Disney Plus. It's a song about how an evil corporation has devastated a place, and we have to make sure that all these corporations do it. What's the easiest way for us to do that? We're just gonna make it in the space language. Hey, doesn't the TARDIS translate space? Don't worry about it. It's in the space language, but trust us, it's really emotional and really, really sad.
Look, sometimes even the TARDIS is like, I don't want to culturally appropriate this alien world. I'm gonna just let her use her own voice for this one.
There are a couple times I agree with you. Like, it's weird that we're not getting the language. I know, like, it's like, oh, we're just gonna have visuals of a genocide happening, and that's gonna be happen. But I once in a while, I think the TARDIS doesn't translate something when like it's intentionally in another language. Like, I think I've noticed a couple of times that's happened where, like, if the Doctor is translating something, or the Doctor's like speaking in baby, like we don't hear what the babies are saying normally with the TARDIS, but the Doctor can understand it. There are a couple times, I think, where if something is intentionally being done in that language, the TARDIS is like, no, I get vibes. I know what's happening.
It did. ask Becca this, and Riley, I'm interested to see what your thoughts are toward this of when it comes to names, because a lot of the names that we get of various space people seems a little weird. Like they are familiar to us in a way that I feel like it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But knowing that the TARDIS translates, do we think that to some extent they are translating names? Like for the example of the name Cora, which is what I flagged as, is like, oh, that's kind of like a weird name for like a space person. Do we think that either the TARDIS is translating this name, that they're finding like, okay, well, this person, they have a name and historically it means this thing, so we're gonna do like a proper equivalent of like what a word means in our term? Or is it going based off of, okay, well, you have a name that in your culture is like the 12th most popular name from the year that this person was born, so we're going to pick the 12th most popular name from the year that you would have been born in here.
Yeah, I feel like it might be somewhere between a mix of those two things together, because I think that is, it is weird to have, especially when they're also clearly saying that there is no Earth beyond 2025. It's like, well, then why are these specifically very Earth 2025 names being used in this story?
Like the TARDIS is just doing shade of like, your parents picked a very common name. Their parents were unoriginal.
Mm.
You're the Mike of your planet. Sorry.
I also, the other thing I really liked about Interstellar Song Contest is just the thing of like, oh, you know, this like big season arc of like what the fuck happened to the Earth and everything. Why don't we let Graham Norton as himself leave us with that big cliffhanger moment?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, this is so good.
It's so funny. I like that there's like somehow the reality is both that Graham Norton agreed to let his likeness be used in perpetuity for this hologram, but also he died in May 2025.
Yeah.
Like, when did Graham Norton get absorbed by this Chat GPT program that exists in the future if he died on Earth in May 2025?
Easy. When did they film this episode?
That's fair. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Graham Norton, in the world of Doctor Who, Graham Norton agreed to be on a television show called Doctor Who, in which he plays a hologram of himself.
Yeah. And the BBC actually scanned him and kept him in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Riley, if you end up writing another Big Finish, you'll actually find a new addition in the contract where you can't use any pre-existing monsters, but you can use Graham Norton.
I would do that. Are you kidding me? If that meant that I could have Graham Norton do the voice on the show, I would absolutely do that. Yeah.
And be like, oh, technically, the BBC Doctor or Torchwood specific, or like, the Bad Wolf specifically owns Graham Norton.
Yeah, they won't let you do Graham Norton until they release Shooty Doctor era stuff into Big Finish use. So we can't do that story until he regenerates into another Doctor and they replace, kind of like how it was funny because when I met with Peter Angelides, like he told me they had permission to use up through Peter Capaldi, and that was the end of what they had. And then I think the very next day it was announced that Jodie Whittaker was coming to do Doctor Who for Big Finish. But I think maybe they like short trips probably is behind, like because they want to like make her exclusive to her box set. I don't think I would have been able to use Joe Martin or Jodie for pitches, but my pitch was always going to be Bill Potts and the 12th Doctor, so it didn't matter. But it was like very much like I wonder if this year, because I know they're promoting now the Paul Spragg Memorial thing. Oh, I'm sorry, next May they're promoting the Paul Spragg Memorial Contest. But by the way, if you are listening to this in the future or now, and you want to write for Big Finish, there is currently a contest happening. That's the Paul Spragg Memorial Contest, which is like a way you can pitch an idea, and like even if you don't end up winning it, like for example, the writer that I mentioned last episode that I was on, or the next episode I'm on, or 2 episodes from now, depending on when I'm on the one about the Medley Monk, I mentioned Paul Booth, who was one of my co-writers, one of my fellow authors, I should say, not co-writers, in the box set that I'm in. Paul had submitted to the Paul Spragg Memorial, didn't get picked for the Paul Spragg Memorial, but then got asked later to do a story for the Short Trips box set that I'm on. So it's a way, check that out on their like Instagram or whatever to see that. But anyway, long story short, they have I think they might be intentionally trying to make it a 13th Doctor story because there's like a 13th Doctor is attached to it. So
cool.
I rambled. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, Riley, actually, yeah, I'm going to cut everything that doesn't have to do with the specific 7 seconds of the robot revolution that we're talking about today. So
if this episode is just me talking about how hot Varda Sethu is, I'm okay with that. I'm very okay with that because she's very attractive and I like that about her.
Gorgeous.
And she's a great actress and she takes no shit in the Doctor, which I like. So
yeah, she's the best companion that we've had all season.
Agreed. Of this whole season? Yeah.
Of this whole season.
That's shade on the one episode that Ruby Sunday's in.
I'd be like, you say this on one of the few that did actually have multiple.
Yeah. Let's like saying in season 4 of like, Catherine Tate's the best companion we had all season. It's like, what did Martha Jones do to you?
What did literally the entire cast of Doctor Who do to you? Well, Riley, can you remind us one more time where to find you and your work?
Yeah, you can find me on the Blue Sky at rileysilverman.bluesky.social, and then you can find me on Instagram at Riley Silverman. You can hear me on the Good Chaotic podcast, and you can check out in the future. You can check out my Doctor Who story, The Dark Watches of California, which is part of the Big Finish collection, Tales from the Vortex, Volume 13. Or it's Short Trips Volume 13, Tales from the Vortex, but it's called Dark Watchers of California. So just try to find that on the Big Finish thing, and you can listen to it. And I hope you do, because I love writing it and I'm proud of it.
It's very good. And listeners, I don't know when this specifically is gonna drop.
Tune in next time for
Space Babies.
If this drops after, I mean, I guess it definitely will drop after Wish World and Reality War, but if it does end up being that I was right about something and people are like, yeah, we know, we already heard it. Why are you already watching it? Why are you saying things you already heard?
Thanks for listening to Stitches in Time. Music by Becca McGlynn. Art by Mandy Oquendo. Logo by Ben Paddon. Produced by Becca McGlynn and Ben Paddon. Did you know you can listen to this podcast with your eyeballs? Subscribe to us on YouTube. Yeah, it will be a big deal because Riley, this is actually true that we haven't seen the last 2 of the season yet.
I have no props for anybody who, like I said already, if you were like, oh, I totally called that Mrs. Club was the Ronnie, I'm like, yeah, good for you for your clock being on noon the whole time. It's the same thing.